William Parrish is a multi-millionaire who has run a successful empire for the past 40 years in New York. But, after his wife passes away, he feels empty and becomes convinced that death is now after him too. He hears strange voices in his head, mimicking his own words, but they are phony and ridicule him in every possible manner. William's eldest and somewhat meddlesome daughter, Allison, is planning her father's 65th birthday party. Her sister Susan, an attractive young doctor, is involved with one of Bill's board members, Drew. Her father disapproves of the relationship and suggests she look for someone more suited to her character. Early in the morning she meets a handsome and cheery stranger in a cafe, but fails to learn his name before they leave. The young man is struck and killed by a car a few minutes later. Death appears to Bill in his home. Bill finally realizes that the young man is the personification of death. But death wants a holiday from his taxing, eternal responsibility of taking the souls of the dead to the afterlife. He chooses William to be his guide, strikes a deal with Bill. As long as Bill shows him around the world of mortals, Bill will get to live a little longer. Temporarily doubting his own sanity, he finally agrees. He is introduced to William's family at a dinner at his house, when Susan arrives a few minutes late. She immediately recognizes the young man she met earlier that day, but the young man as Death is unfamiliar with the practices of mortal men and does not remember their original meeting. He acts awkwardly around her and she is confused and upset by his sudden odd behavior, very unlike his actions earlier that day. When the dinner guests ask Bill for the name of his old friend, Bill hesitatingly introduces him as Joe Black. The family is puzzled by the sudden appearance of an old friend of their father's that they have never met. If you have come this far in the video, please subscribe to this channel to never miss amazing content like this. Joe insists that Bill allow him to accompany him every place he goes, and Bill reluctantly agrees. Bill knows that these are his last days on Earth, but despite his best efforts, he fails to keep events from rapidly spiraling out of control. A merger has been proposed to the board of Bill's company, and Drew actively supports the transaction, but Bill as chairman vetoes the proposal. Drew is very antagonistic towards this sudden, new old friend of Bill's, and is disrespectful and rude towards him. Susan grows disaffected of her relationship with Drew, beginning to see him for who he really is, and is somewhat enamored of the diffident, seductive, mysterious Joe Black. They have and she tells Joe that she loves him. Joe enjoys the experiences of his flesh, of human feelings and desires, and is in love with her as well. This complicates matters, as Bill doesn't want Death to become involved with his daughter, and tells Joe that their deal didn't include this. Death has little care for Will's feelings and declares his intention to take Susan with him for his own. As his last birthday arrives, Bill makes a last attempt to demonstrate to Joe the meaning of true love and all it encompasses, especially honesty and sacrifice. Bill's 65th birthday on his large estate is a wonderful, perfect event. Joe attends, pretending to be an Internal Revenue Service agent. Bill makes a last attempt to demonstrate to Joe the meaning of true love and all it encompasses, especially honesty and sacrifice. Joe comes to understand that his love for Susan means he has to sacrifice his desire to take Susan with him, and allow her to live her life, and he abandons his plans to take her. Unknown to Bill, Drew is conspiring with an enemy of Bill's who is bidding to acquire Parrish Communications. Drew capitalizes on Bill's strange behavior. He uses information inadvertently given to him by Bill's son-in-law Quince and convinces the board to vote Bill out as chairman. He also persuades the board to approve the merger which Bill had decided to oppose. Quince is devastated by what happens to Bill as all but one other member of the board vote him out. Joe, as the IRS agent, uses his knowledge of Drew's actions and intimidates Drew into resigning from the company and board and to leaving Susan. Joe helps get Bill reinstated as chairman of the board. Bill devotes his remaining hours of life at the party to his daughters Allison and Susan. Joe says his last
Goodbye.
To Susan, admitting in veiled terms that he isn't what he appears to be. She senses something of the truth behind his words but is unable or unwilling to vocalize this realization. A fireworks show marks the end of the party and Joe escorts Bill to the edge of the garden and Susan follows them. Joe takes Bill over the bridge and the two disappear. Susan saw them walking away and runs up to the bridge. She is surprised when Joe reappears and walks back over the bridge. Death has left with Bill. Joe is now the young man Susan met at the coffee shop at the start of the movie. The young man, unaware of the events which had transpired from the time of his death until his return, talks to Susan. After a few moments, Susan suddenly realizes that Joe is not the person whom she fell in love with. She gazes past Joe's shoulder at the spot where she last saw Joe, Death, and Bill. Tearing, they hold hands and walk back towards the celebration of life. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know in the comment section below which movie you want us to recap next. As always, until the next time.